everybody, Ryan and Reagan here, and we want to prepare you for your neurotransmitter test. One of the pillars of health that we consider to be the most important is your brain health. I don't know about you, Ryan, but if my brain's not healthy, but my body is, I'm probably not going to enjoy my life that much.
No, it doesn't allow your your body to move forward and function like how you want it to, in your brain, how you think it should.
Exactly. And so that's one of the reasons we brought on the neurotransmitter test. This is the test we do through urine. You collect it at that second void of the morning. You send it off, and what the lab is analyzing is how all the basic chemistry in your brain is functioning and performing. And so this visit's going to be one of your most critical visits, because what we find is neurotransmitters influence your behavior, they influence your thoughts, the way you feel about yourself, the way you feel about others, the way you connect to a deeper purpose is all dependent on these neurotransmitters. So as Ryan and I go through this today, take some notes, and then your provider will give you very specific guidelines for what you can do to balance your neurotransmitters if they're off. Just as an experience that I've noticed when I took my neurotransmitters, I had very high levels of serotonin, low levels of dopamine, my epinephrine and norepinephrine ratios were off, and my GABA was a little bit low. And I know these terms don't make sense to you right now, but we're going to go and explain these to you. But what I noticed is as I started taking the precursors, I started taking supplements for it, using Siltap, I used dopamine, I also used L-theanine, and what I found is all of a sudden my brain turned on and I was able to function nice clean energy all throughout the day, and then when it got to nighttime I could actually sleep. And that stays very consistent. So I hope you have the same experience. We've seen it with other patients. Have you noticed anything with your neurotransmitters?
I have, yeah. I noticed for me, my excitatory neurotransmitters, which we'll talk about in a minute, tend to stay really high. So I have to use certain amino acids to help them come down and reassimilate into my body and out of my brain, out of my blood. So at night I can not be stressed out when I'm at home, after a long day at work. So it's been helpful to know how to regulate.
Beautiful. Well, let's jump into the test.
Great. So this is the Labrix neurotransmitter test that you'll be seeing in your meeting with your practitioner here. And we're going to go through the different neurotransmitters. There's two different sections of neurotransmitters. The first three are the inhibitory neurotransmitters, and the second set are the excitatory neurotransmitters. So each one, the inhibitory category, kind of tends to calm things down, relax the brain. Excitatory tends to bring the brain levels up, bring the excitation in the body up. Okay. So serotonin and GABA and dopamine are all in the first category there. Reagan mentioned those earlier too. So serotonin, this person here, a lot of these are pretty low in this person here. We want them a little bit more in the green range. So you'll see this on yours too. There's a little marker that shows where it ended up in your test sample. For serotonin, we want them a little bit higher than what they're finding here. You'll see with low serotonin, you may contribute to mood issues like anxiety or depression, a sense of discontentment. So you're not being fulfilled in what you're doing. Serotonin's kind of a happy neurotransmitter. It makes you feel good about what's happening in your life. Diminished serotonin may be implicated with poor sleep quality, issues with your appetite. So it really can affect a lot of different things in the body that generally aren't thought of as brain chemistry issues. So.
Yeah, sometimes with low serotonin you'll crave sugar, you'll crave sweets. That's where you really can find that most of our patients who are addicted to food have very low serotonin.
The next one is GABA. Low GABA may be associated again with anxiety and poor impulse control. GABA is a neurotransmitter that really it makes you feel that connectedness to your purpose and to other people. In yoga, it's said that GABA is released during a yoga class. And if you think about it, you're in a room with maybe 10, 20 other people doing something in sync and in unison. And there's really that community feeling. In our society, we're pretty isolated. We all live in houses with one, maybe 2, 3 other people, and we don't have that connection to our community as much. And evolutionarily, that's something pretty new in our society. We used to live in big, larger groups. So having that GABA community sense really helps the body feel like there's a connectedness to your purpose in life and moving forward and not just staying isolated in your little box. So the next one here, dopamine. This one also is pretty low. Low dopamine may be associated again with anxiety, depression, having some issues with difficulty in concentration. Dopamine is also, low levels of dopamine can be associated with decreased libido. So not feeling that drive, that get up and go drive in the morning, that's often a dopamine issue.
And dopamine is also the reward center. So you have this part of your brain called your prefrontal cortex. And it's a beautiful part of our brain because it helps us put complex ideas and decisions that we're making, helps us put it into action. And so dopamine, you know how you have the checklist of all the to-do things you're going to do today? When you check those lists off, you complete a project, it's like ching, a little donation gets put into that part of your brain. And when dopamine's low, you don't get satisfaction from your work. You don't feel like you can accomplish anything. That's, life kind of loses its savor that way. But we've also seen low levels of dopamine or high levels of dopamine can also be associated with addictions. So some of our patients who get addicted to pain medications or addicted to recreational drugs can be seeking this dopamine because their brain's not producing it on their own. So very powerful neurotransmitter there.
Yeah, it's an important one. Again, the reward center. So when you do something, you get that reward feeling, you feel like you can move on. And again, with addiction, even with food, you don't feel satiated, you don't feel that hunger fulfilled. So that's a big one to remember. So that's the inhibitory category, those first few. The last one's the excitatory. You're going to see norepinephrine, epinephrine, and glutamate. So norepinephrine and epinephrine, they bring the activity level up in the brain. So this person's here, again, these are all pretty low levels. So you can see with low levels can be associated with depression, mood swings, where you're just not comfortable. You can't have that balance in your day of when you should be up and going and when you should be relaxed. Same with epinephrine. Low levels of epinephrine are associated with stress response and contribute to anxiety, agitation, and irritability. So imagine if you have need to go do something and you just don't have the drive to do it. It can be kind of frustrating. So this can be a real contributing factor to that.
Yeah, and I think the other thing you'll notice is the adrenal test that we ran for you. That's where we look at the saliva, we look at all your stress hormones. If cortisol is dysregulated, that's going to affect norepinephrine and epinephrine because the inner part of your adrenals, that's called your cortex, that's secreting the epinephrine and norepinephrine, all the precursors to make those neurotransmitters. And so one of the things you'll find is if you sit up too fast, like that, the room will spin, you'll get winded if you're walking upstairs if these are low. If they're high, what you're going to find is that you're going to have a high heart rate. You can end up with what's called tachycardia, where just out of the blue you just feel like you're having a panic attack. These neurotransmitters are really helpful because they can make you alert. If you have a bus coming at you, you're crossing the road, you can navigate your way out of that situation. So they're survival neurotransmitters, but these are some of the key ones that we want to keep regulated because when you have a disconnect in these, it's really hard for us to balance your hormones.
The last one here you'll see in the excitatory category is glutamate. Low-range glutamate associated with increased addictive tendencies, again, including food-seeking behaviors. So you really want to have that modulated so you can make choices along the way, so you're not always just working from impulse.
Yeah, and the other thing you'll find with glutamate, it's the most abundant of all the neurotransmitters in your brain. Foods are actually one of the most key things you can do to build your neurotransmitters. There's foods like, when we talk about gut health, the resistant starch, collagen. Some of you are going to be on that protein because you may react to everything else, but surprisingly enough, collagen is one of the best foods you can eat to build the good bacteria in your gut so you can actually make these neurotransmitters. So, you know, when we give you recommendations, you want to look at the big picture. A lot of you are coming because your energy is not where you'd like it to be, you want to sleep better, you want to feel a better sense of well-being, and the neurotransmitters gives us a nice foundational piece, but don't forget all the other parts as well. Hope that's been helpful, and we'll see you on the next video. Enjoy your visit with your provider.